There we go. Hello. So we're going to take a look at everyone's progress. I've been looking through the project schedule document and checking all of the links. I'll wait until he gets here, but Ethan's was not set up correctly. Let me see. If he pops in, then let me know. Where's his listing here? Lozano, there it is. So Ethan's was not set up correctly because it was the wrong type of submission. He put downloadable and needs to put in browser. But if he comes in, I'll let him know. I wanted to show you guys first some places where you can get some free assets, because a lot of you guys are going to need something like this. And it's not just art assets. There's also sound effects, UI, and in many cases scripts. OpenGameArt.org is a really great one because there's a really wide variety of stuff that you can find. Just search for it. There are tags for types of things, and then there's certain creators that make entire sets of objects and in some cases fonts or special effects available to you. So if you don't want to do all of your own original art, it's very, very easy not to. And there's like a full set of not only 3D objects, but sprites or 2D illustrated art here for just about any kind of genre that you could want. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. Keep in mind that all of the links to everything that I recommend is available on Google Drive inside of our Game Studio folder. Link sharing, just open that up, and I've got tons and tons of stuff to help by category here. So open source assets is what I'm talking about. Just want to make you guys aware of that. Another one that I just became aware of recently because I was on this site looking around is that Sketchfab's policy is that you can upload as many free open source things as you want, but if you want to make it private, they limit that by credits. So I forget where to find, yeah, right here. Upload one upload credit left that resets every month. All that means is the model is downloadable or not, or in the store, doesn't count against this limit. So if you sell your assets on Sketchfab, then it doesn't count against that limit. And if you give them away for free, it doesn't count against that limit. So if you look at these thumbnails down here, many of them have a little icon in the upper corner, downloadable. That doesn't guarantee that it's free, but most of the time they are free. But it does mean that you can get your hands on it if you want to. So this Jeep and this house, for instance, let's see if they cost anything. Nope, it's free right there. Download 3D model. The original format was FBX for this one. So I could just click that, and I've got the FBX file, which is going to include the full model and textures for this object. Good practice would dictate you credit this person if you use it in your own project, but it is free for you to use. Then this other one, let's take a look. Yep, free to download. And this one's a blend file, so you'd have to have Blender to open that. Now, even if you don't know how to use Blender, it's free to download and install. You could just open this file and then go to the file menu and export as a different file type and then close it. So you don't even need to really know Blender well to be able to utilize these. But the original format's not guaranteed to be anything in particular. You can also go to explore at the top, downloadable, and then I think you can filter by price. I actually don't see by price. Well, all these are downloadable anyway, but I think if there's a price, then there we go. That one, the $sign, is, yeah, you can download it and you have to pay something. But this one is free to download. So that's how you can tell the difference between them. Cool. So very, very good resource for you guys to do game development or really anything that you want to. Utilize it, just credit where it's appropriate, and you'll be good. Okay? Any questions about that? Everybody hear me?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. Let's start looking through the links then. I've started going down the list to find all of the ones that we hadn't looked at yet. I think we already looked at this one, which is Alan's, and I know it was one others, but I'm blanking on who else it was. Alan and
Isaiah, I think.
Isaiah, yeah, was that it? Okay. Anyway, we've looked at that one, so we don't have to look at it again unless you updated it. Is he in the chat right here? Actually, don't see him. So we'll assume that he didn't update it, and that's the same. Second one, that was...
Oh, it was Isaac. My bad.
Oh, Isaac, right. Elijah, yeah, was the second one. Elijah gave me a heart attack because this was marked as restricted, and I thought there was going to be pornographic stuff in it. But it turns out it's just gross. So that's good. Let me make sure. Is that the same one person I'm talking about? Yeah, that should be the right one. Let's try it one more time. Just make sure it does. Yeah, meat crawler. Funny name. So there we go. He's got a fully animated, or partially animated at least, character with the mouth moving and the eyeball darting around. Nice high resolution textures. Really gross reflection on the eye. Yeah, it's cool. I'll check it out when I see what his goals were, but I believe that his goals were just to make a rigged animated character that was able to be displayed three-dimensionally like this one. So that's really cool. If you're unfamiliar with how to control Sketchfab, by the way, when you open this, it's really easy. Just left click and drag. If you use your other mouse buttons, right click will move the camera around. Mouse wheel will zoom. And if you want to stop the playback so that you can look at something in particular, you can pause, scrub the timeline. Sometimes there are other clips that you can play down here. In this case, there aren't. And the model inspector right here is where we can look at things like the bones. So this is how many bones this character has. Bone influence, if you cared about that sort of thing. Base color, metalness, roughness, normal map, AO, displacement, emission, specular. Usually wireframe is something we're interested in to kind of verify that the character is made in a reasonable way. And it seems to be. Check out the polygon flow here to see if everything makes sense. It does. And this is a very strangely shaped character, and so little weird things like this in the mesh are not, not too bad. I don't really think there's probably a reason for that to be taking place right in that spot. And so there may have been the occasional little hiccup here and there, but it would be really hard to catch on a character like this anyway. One way I could verify if this is an error or not is by zooming right in here and then going back to like base color, or if they would let me, the UV sheet. There we go, UV checker. We could see if there's distortion. Nope, no distortion. So it was UV'd after that happened, or it wasn't an error. So that one's perfectly fine. We could also look at the base color to see if there's pinching or distortion, but nope, it all seems fine. All right, so that looks really great, and we'll be giving feedback to that. I'm going to see if that automatic system is working on Canvas. Robert said it wasn't, and so I'm going to see if there's something I need to do or not. But if you guys don't have an assignment for giving feedback to someone else yet, hold tight and I'll see if I can figure out something to do for that. Okay? All right, very good. So next, I think it was going this way. I believe this was Miguel's. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. So Miguel, got your pumpkin. How did it go?
I made a lot of mistakes. Well, not mistake. Well, yeah, there were a couple mistakes.
Okay.
Mostly, it was just a learning experience, I'd say, though.
Right. Anything that you could correct?
Absolutely. So you'll see I didn't dynamesh the mesh, so you see that the cuts are still all crazy looking.
Sure.
And if you look inside to the left, you see that I used the shape of the pumpkin itself, or the jack-o'-lantern itself, after cutting out the eyes to hollow it out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just eye pegs in there.
And what program are you doing this in?
This was my foray into ZBrush.
Into ZBrush, okay. Yeah. I can't help you there. Don't know ZBrush, never want to know ZBrush. I don't like it at all. But you seem to have done a pretty good job. I mean, overall, it looks like the thing it should look like. And the topology is legal, even though it is a little bit strange and pinchy. I mean, it's valid, especially for a sculpture. Is it your goal to get it all the way to full character rigging, though?
No, this was
No,
a practice experiment.
but I mean eventually.
Oh yeah. I hope
Okay.
to be sufficient. or
The
proficient, I mean, by the end of the semester.
I don't know how their retopologizing is in ZBrush, but from my few students who use not just Maya and ZBrush, but also Blender and a few others, I've heard that it's not great. That you either have to start from a low res mesh and then add your high res on top, or that you have to take it to a different program to do retopologizing. Do you know anything about retopology?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
retopologized things as a practice before.
In what program?
Maya.
In Maya. Okay. Maya is fine, especially if there are some tricks that make it go a lot faster. Um, but you look around, like explore your options before settling down to one option, because retopology can either be really easy and breezy or very, very frustrating, depending on how you're approaching it. So don't get locked into one approach too quick. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I know there are dedicated tools for retopology, so
There are. I usually just either use Maya or Blender, and both of them have a similar workflow where in Maya it's just like the modeling toolkit, basically just extruding edges and maybe even just making primitives and sort of vacuum forming them on top of the high resolution and subdividing them. And Blender's is much the same as that. So either way, it's pretty quick for me to do retopology, but um, I've also played around with the tools a lot. I'm just looking at like how dense the mesh is all the way down here. Like, wow.
oh yeah, I probably could have gone with a lower level of detail.
I don't think you should. When you're doing sculpture, high res is exactly what you should be doing. It's when you retopo that stuff will change. Okay, cool. Anything else you want me to take a look at in particular here, or is that good?
No, I think that's everything.
I think it was a pretty successful sculpture. I mean, it looks like what it should look like. I say just keep going. All right, very good. All right, Ethan. Did Ethan arrive? I don't see Ethan. So we're going to have to skip Ethan because this download will give you the data files and the HTML. But if we can run that, I'm not entirely sure. That is not how you are supposed to submit these to Itch. So Ethan, if you're watching the playback, what you have to do is change the type to play in browser, then give it those three files in a zip, then it will work properly. So you're almost there, but not quite. Victor asks, so the feedback, we don't actually have a way of doing it yet? Correct. You don't actually have a way of doing it yet. And I want to quantify it too, not just allow you to give feedback, but also give you sort of a participation grade for providing that to others. And so I got to take a look at the system and make sure that it's going to work properly. Right now, it seems to not be working properly. So I'm going to have to mess around with that. Cool. Thank you for asking. All right, so we're going to skip Ethan for a second. So this one, that's ones. Let's see. Make sure I'm not skipping anyone. Yeah, so that's ones. And we took a little bit of a look at this earlier in the week, but it looks like it's more fleshed out now. And one was asking if he had to submit the texture sheet, but yeah, for some reason. So on the last one I looked at, we had a 2D, 3D option where I could see both. On this one, it's not there. But I can tell what your trim sheet looks like just by turning on the UV checker. Well, you know what? Maybe. Nope. That's like maybe if I went to a different channel, it would let me, but no. So anyway, the UV checker kind of reveals where the texture information is. All of this red stuff is identical to each other. All of the blue stuff, all of the yellow stuff, all the green stuff. So you can kind of infer where the trim sheet is located. And I don't really need to scrutinize the trim sheet too much. We can just look at the final applied result and kind of get the idea of what you've done here. This is cool. Turn it to final render. Let's get some lighting on there. There we go. There's one in the chat. Yeah, one's here. If your microphone's working, go for it. If not, you can type to me. Hopefully this was a really good learning experience. It sounded like it was. The only odd thing I can see right now is that there's a little bit of a scale problem with the bricks, both the tan and the white bricks. Okay, mic's not working? That's okay. So the scale problem I'm seeing is just that up here on the roof, you've got very, very squashed bricks around this trim. Um, you don't have to fit the unwrapped shape entirely within the bounds of anything. You can take parts of it, or you can uh, make the unwrapped shape that you put over that texture area unproportional, so you can like skew it so that it fits properly. But a little bit of skewing is necessary here because those are smashed. Then these ones are really big and flat. These ones are gigantic on the side of the wall, and then these are even bigger down at the bottom here. So pay attention to scale, especially when you've got repeating textures like that. The way that you're applying the UVs is a little bit strange right now. Most of the rest of it, though, looks pretty good. You're getting a little bit of distortion on this decorative slab right here compared to this one, especially when they're side by side like that, and we can see the difference. I'm not really seeing any distortion on the windows, despite the fact that you've got different shaped windows with shutters or not. So that looks pretty good. But the bricks are really jumping out, especially these at the bottom. Okay, so watch the scale of what you're making. In general, if you're going to repeat texture areas a lot, let me take a look at Wireframe. So I would make a texture that fits perfectly inside this square shape so that I could take these other repeating sections and have them either sit on the left or the right of the square shape, or ideally be the exact same square shape, because then it would make it very easy to tile. It sort of looks like you've set it up that way, but for some reason the texture didn't apply that way. Okay. Do you have any questions, Juan? I'm wondering if the stairs have no questions. Okay, I don't know if the stairs have any texture on them. They look really white, uniform. I guess, well, when I turn that on, it looks fine. It was just a little conspicuous. I was wondering if they had any texture on them. Okay, for a first experiment, not bad. And I think use what you learned on the next one. There's no need to like fix this one up to death or anything like that. And anyway, we're not necessarily judging the quality of the project. We're more judging, did you hit your mark, as far as you were trying to learn how to do trim sheets and apply them. And I think you've done that here. And so perfection can wait. Juan's typing something there. Okay. Give me 1 sec while I see what Juan has to say. Okay. If you know how to solve those problems, Juan, then that's great, and you can just do it on the next project. If you don't know how to solve them, then showing us a few screenshots or asking in chat would be a great way to get some help. I would need to be able to see what exactly the problem is. Also, did you make this available for download? It looks like you didn't make it available for download. I just muted one of the interpreters just for a moment because there was planes and stuff going by in the background. It was really loud. Um, yeah, it looks like you didn't. If you take a look back in the settings for this project and allow it to be downloadable, then I could download it and look through the actual project to give suggestions about how I might fix that. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and answer Salvo's question right now, though. Okay. You have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I have a question about the texture. So I know this is a 2D painting, but let's say I decide to make like a half painting for like a 2D and use the Mica program to do that. Does that mean I can make it partially 2D or I have to make the whole drawing 2D with texture?
I don't really understand the question. This is a 3D project, as in I can move the camera around it. It's got dimension. The texture is 2D. So
Right, I was talking about the texture.
okay.
So if I wanted to make it a UV texture for Photoshop. So if I wanted to do it for Photoshop, um, it wouldn't work in Photoshop to use it to make the whole project with texture?
I'm not sure. I think that you can fully texture something in Photoshop so long as it's already UV unwrapped. I don't see why you can't. I personally don't usually use the 3D features in Photoshop for that reason, because it's a little bit foreign to me and I have better ways of doing it already. But if you want to find out, I would suggest doing an experiment to see if the thing that you're trying to do will work before you sink a lot of time and effort into it. That's what I would usually do. Make something simple and small and fast. Try to do the thing that you're attempting and see if it works. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, okay, I can test it out myself.
That's always a good idea, because then you have concrete answers. Okay, great. Thank you, one. All right. Let's see. The next one I believe was Jimmy. Oh wait, no, I skipped Matt.
So I have another question.
Go for it.
So if I were to do half of it in the texture and it doesn't work, but I did half that work, can I still turn in the half work that I did?
If you're doing an experiment, that wouldn't be for me, that would be for you. So do an experiment that is not an assignment. Do it for your own reasons that you can figure out what the problem is, or if there even is a problem. Then if it fails, there's no risk. And you'll have to try something else if you can't make it work the way that you want to.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, Matt. I downloaded your
What's
project.
up? What's up?
And okay, cool. So you actually gave me a download the correct way, which is that it's got executable and data.
Yes.
Did you want to make it runnable in the browser?
Is that a thing?
That is a thing on itch, yeah.
I don't know. I just have the executable file right now.
Okay, we'll play it this way, and since it's done correctly, we can play it. It's just that when Ethan did it, I wouldn't be able to play it because it didn't give me the right stuff, but yours is set up correctly. So let me drag that over to my desktop, and I'll open it up and see what we got. Yeah, if you want to know how to make it playable in browser, I've got those instructions on Canvas in the information
Okay.
section. It's publishing WebGL, and all the instructions are laid out there so that basically the browser window just has a play button in it, and anybody can just hit that.
Okay. All right. Actually, that's pretty good.
It,
Okay. So you, instead of publishing it to like the exe, it just does it's like a web file or something.
it will give you it gives you two folders and an HTML file, and what you do is zip those three things together and then submit them onto itch.io. All the instructions are there written out with like
Okay.
diagrams and stuff, but it's not very different at all.
Sure. No worries.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And you might have to help me out with controls. Whoa, there it goes.
AD and spacebar. That's it.
AD and spacebar and E to go to the next level. Okay.
Okay. So E, you're gonna have to already quit and restart it.
Oh no. Really? Okay. Is there a way to quit
So let me
other than alt tabbing
Alt
it?
F4. Yeah.
All right. I'll do that. There we go.
So this is a parkour game, right?
Right.
And down the course to the left will be an object in which that you can pick up.
Okay.
If you do pick up that object, it will then go into your inventory, and at which point you can test by pressing E scene transitions,
Okay.
where I carry the same character controller or the same first person camera from this level to the next one in which that you just loaded in.
Okay.
So the pickupable orb will be way down to the left, down there,
Like at the end of
and
these walls.
yeah,
Okay.
you if you fail, you'll get knocked off backwards. Like the objects will push you backwards. So
Oh, like if I hit a wall.
yeah, you'll just get pushed off and you'll have to restart.
I wanted to try. Okay. It didn't actually like these just
I gave you a
me.
little bit.
Right.
You have a little bit of leeway. You
Okay.
know.
Whee! Okay. not exactly sure if I'm gonna do this, but come here. Oh. Okay. So, you messed up just a little bit. Crying face. So I can't retry this level. I have to like quit entirely.
Yeah, yeah. I was my main what I would call a success is the fact that I was able to get this character to the next one successfully. If you are
Okay.
able to get just a little further, you were almost there in your game.
Okay. The good news
And
is though, to
yes,
reset, like to get me back to the start of this to retry, it's the same thing that you did to bring us to the next level, only you do it again for this level.
so what? Do one more like scene copy, like
Yeah, no, you don't even
like
need
run
another
it
scene
backwards.
copy. You just reload this scene. That's it. You just reload this scene. So like I'm
So like
assuming,
add one more thing of like command, like an if statement, and just
yeah. So like
like put it
if
on F or
I
some shit.
yeah, like if my Y height goes below a certain level, I've fallen off. Then you reload this level. Or if I hit a collider that is underneath all of the level stuff, I've fallen off the level, reload this level.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll definitely utilize that sort of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
So that's the good news. So I'll just go to the next level. I'll just cheat. Oh, but it's up there now, huh? It's like above me.
Yeah, you fell off.
Okay. Let me go ahead.
I'm just gonna call it a temporary success at absolute minimum.
Well, your only goal was to load a character consistently from one scene to the next, right? So you
Yeah,
did that.
and I am able to do that, except when you so go ahead and press E, and you'll notice that when you do press E and you go to the second one,
Yeah.
you can't jump, but you can still move. So I don't know what bug is causing that. If
Huh.
maybe that's the, but it's the same character controller.
Okay. It's interesting. I wonder. So, let me tell you how it would typically work in a game that has multiple levels, because you might be trying to do something a little bit more complicated than you need to. You would have a prefab as your character. That prefab would contain everything that makes your character move, everything that makes your character visible, all of that stuff, right? And then you would have a level, which is essentially a scene. And the scene would contain everything in the environment, and it would have that prefab in there as well. So when you load the level, you become the player prefab, run around and do whatever. Then if you load a different scene, you become the prefab that's in that scene. So it doesn't actually matter where the one was in the previous scene, because there's already one in the next scene at the appropriate place. Typically that's going to be like a doorway or a spawn point. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Are
But
you trying to do
given that,
something more complicated than that?
I mean, not really. It's essentially the same thing. I was just trying to move one character from one stage to the next, and the way that I was demonstrating it was just to make sure that the character does have something in his inventory. That way, we're not just creating a false new character.
So if you wanted to have persistent inventory from scene to scene, the
Yes.
player wouldn't actually have their inventory on them. That inventory object would be a different thing, like a game controller object. And the game controller object would keep track of what level we're in, what the inventory state is, what the score, the money state is, that sort of thing, lives maybe. And so the player is just a data point. The player is just something that changes those values and also controls the camera. Whereas the inventory, the stats, if you will, they would be the thing that is kept consistent between level loads. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's just a different way of looking at it, I guess.
Yeah, that's much more typical. Is to
Sure.
have a game manager object or a game controller object that keeps track of things that need to remain consistent throughout the play of the game. But the player is just sort of a single component in the scene. So it makes a lot of sense to have the game manager not be destroyed on load, not be unloaded and reloaded. But the player usually is destroyed and reloaded because it doesn't actually contain any essential data. Make sense?
Yeah, that's much more smart than moving the player over. Like you just have like a one command hub thing that controls everything.
Right.
And you bring that from scene to scene. So
if you do try some of the, have you done any of the Unity Learn tutorials yet? Because you should. They teach you about all this stuff. The only reason I know that is because I did a bunch of tutorials and they kept doing that over and over. They'd make a game manager and they'd put all the essential stuff on it, and I was like, why are they doing that? And it's because that is the thing that doesn't get destroyed, and it's invisible. It's just a data, sort of a data collection.
Right. So that's on just Unity. You just look for Game Manager.
Yeah. So we got learn.unity.com. And
okay.
This one has an essentials pathway and a junior programming pathway. They actually got a whole bunch of other stuff. But the essentials one will not only talk about Unity, the game engine, but also about fundamentally how to make games. So I would recommend, if you haven't done this ever, run through it at least one time, because you'll get a whole bunch of, kind of wild questions out of the way as far as like basic architecture goes. This wasn't around when I started, but when I started, there was just a bunch of like disconnected tutorials, and I just did enough of them to kind of glean the pattern eventually.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll definitely check that out for sure.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we've got... Wait, where did Jimmy's go? Oh, Jimmy's right at the very end. Nathan's we looked at before. That was the flappy fish, or whatever, the swimming fish. So now we do have Jimmy's that we can look at. Oh, Jimmy's here. Hello. Okay, and he's been using Unity Playground to try to see if that'll work. Yeah, the meeting's being recorded.
Here, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and try to play it. So you were saying that it didn't maximize properly?
Well, actually, don't hit the maximizer yet.
Okay, I'll leave it like this. Find the treasure. Cursor keys to fire. WASD keys to move. Cursor keys to fire. Oh, there it goes. WASD to move. Space to get rid of that. Pew pew. So I guess I'm going to the door. Oh, there it goes.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Get out of here, robot. Ah, there he goes. I did it. Oh, can I like go back a room?
No, unfortunately not yet.
Okay. I just saw a door over there, so I assumed that maybe I could do something with it. Cool. This guy's shooting ghosts at me. Some kind of necromancer. Or maniac. Get out of here, ghost man. Ow. Ghosts hurt. Probably. Let's see if ghosts hurt. Do ghosts hurt? Oh, they hurt very much. Okay, so I should try again.
I think that first one actually just disappeared right before it hit you.
Did it?
Yeah, your health didn't go down on the first one.
Is there a way for me to restart?
There's not a restart. Just refresh the browser.
Okay. Do it again. There we go. So Jimmy, did you end up learning everything that you wanted to?
Sort of. I was trying to learn how the playground works and be able to extend its functionality. That's the whole goal of the project. Okay. I wasn't trying to do art or level design.
Okay.
It's more on the programming side.
Right. Did you end up figuring it out so that you could extend the things?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, it sounded like you didn't quite do your goal, but that sounds like a complete success to me. Was there something that you were wanting to do that you weren't able to?
Well, I want to get the notice that the health and the score doesn't carry from room to room. They get reset.
Oh, really?
I want to be able to design my own components so that those can be carry over between different rooms.
Okay.
And also be able to go back to previous room.
Yeah.
But that requires more programming. And I tried it and end up breaking a lot of things.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that'll be a similar solution to what I was talking with Matt about, is that if they had your health component a part of the character and the character is loaded on every room, then the health will be reset on every room. But if the health component was a part of something else more universal that isn't destroyed every time, then it would stay consistent.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
There's also other sort of jankier ways to do it in which you could record how much health the character has when it touches a door and then create it with exactly that much health in the next room. But that's not really worth doing compared to the other way. The other way is much better.
Got it.
Okay. If it wasn't a part of the playground blocks to kind of provide that, then I think that makes sense because they're probably going for a sort of user-friendly first experience with hooking up game logic, but it should be possible to do that even with the blocks that they gave you. You just have to figure out how to make some game controller object which isn't destroyed on scene loading.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And so that's it for now for this?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Great. Yeah, I think you accomplished your goal as well. Do you have any ideas about the next steps that you're going to try?
Yeah, so I'm going to work on, what happened to the piece? It's just supposed to be 2 weeks, but somehow it disappeared.
You just put one right there. There you go.
I'm thinking about doing a 2D skeleton next.
Okay.
Unity.
A 2D skeleton. All right.
2D skeleton animation. Right? That's what I meant.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a pretty easy thing to figure out. Do you have tutorials to follow or something?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Let me know how it goes.
Yep.
Okay. So in our document, I believe that was everything that we had to look at. Let me take one more look and make sure. Okay. Yeah, and salvos we already looked at earlier in the week. It was the same. That was the meat one. This one was the same. Okay, yeah. So that would be this week complete. And so I keep just darkening in the column to make it clear that we're moving forward in time. I do have a number of other people that said they had something that they wanted to turn in, but it hasn't happened. So I've got to talk to those people and see what went on. Is anybody in the chat who is in that situation? I'm looking down our list and I don't see them. Don't see them. It is possible, though, that some of these people have dropped because we've had a lot of people drop. I think as soon as they figured out it was this open-ended and self-driven, that they kind of went, it's not for me, and decided to hightail it out of here. But not this many people, so I'm going to have to wonder where all of these projects are. I'll send them all messages to ask and see what's going on because I don't want them to feel like, oh no, I messed up. I'm going to get an F now. So that would be shitty. Gary says he submitted his. So let's see. Where are you? There. Awesome. Anonymous hamster. Let's take a look at Gary's. It says no.
Oh wait, could you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh,
It says it didn't work.
I don't know why.
When you're submitting it, are you setting it to play in browser or is it set
Yeah,
to
I
something
put play in browser.
And so you gave it a zip file with your 2 folders and your HTML file?
Oh yeah.
Then it should have worked. Did the name change or something?
I could check again right now.
I can actually look on your public page just to see if it's sitting there in another form. Yeah, so far it's not saying that you have anything posted, so double check and make sure it's working properly. I just want to show that we do have the instructions.
Okay. Right. I still haven't submitted that, but I will in a bit.
Oh no, I'm saying that we've got the instructions for how to successfully put it on itch. Right.
Oh here. Yeah. I was looking at it right now. Well, like a while back.
So as long as you got these 3 things in a zip, index.html, the build and the template data, all in a zip, and you put it in their submission and change it to HTML.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know why they say the kind of project is HTML. It should just be in browser, but it's in the description there. That's the one. Maybe I should change this image to have like a big red circle around that one. So if you did all that, then I wouldn't know what's wrong. But hopefully you did something wrong so that you could fix it.
Yeah, well, in my screen it shows. I'm not sure why, but like when I do it, like it lets me play the game. But I don't know why.
Try to like close and reopen it and see if it still works.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and look through these folders really quick because we do actually have some other people's projects up, so that I can take a look at them. They're just turned in the student projects folder. So we've got Devin here. Let's take a look at his. Okay, so we got a screenshot of his 3D model. So it looks like a 3D model, looks like a house. It's a little hard to tell because it's a very dark kind of screenshot. Devin, I would recommend that you look into Sketchfab and see if you can upload models directly up there, because it will give me the ability to preview them the way I did Juan's and Salvo's. It's really super easy, I promise. Let me just use Salvo's again as an example. Where did he go? Salvo, there he is. So I'm going to look at Salvo's one more time just as an example. You can make a 3D model. I don't even think you have to export it as an FBX, but you can, and then upload it. Here it is. I can look all around, turn it around right in browser, and so can anyone else, people who don't have access to 3D modeling software. We can scrutinize it, and it supports textures, it supports animation. It's really good. So I can see this, but it's really hard to analyze in any kind of meaningful way. So I'd strongly recommend learning to use the Sketchfab site. But thank you for turning that in. Sorry, I didn't see it until just now. All right, let's see. Salvo's got his up there as well. And we've got Jamie Hanna. Oh, wow, that's really cool. I want to see, who is that? Are they on my list? I think that's someone who's got a nickname because I don't remember that name. Oh, no, here they are. I just didn't notice. Jay. Okay, perfect. Very cool. This has got a lot of style to it. Very fun. I like the rim highlights kind of effect over the hair. Very cool. And kind of the more complicated lighting within the character over here. If we're talking about using this for a game, then this is probably an appropriate level of detail, although sometimes the highlights become dynamic and are a sort of thing that you apply as an effect in the scene. Even though you don't have to do that, it's sometimes a really stylish element to add. But as concept art, this would be a great way for the technical artists to try to accomplish that stuff. So yeah, that's really cool. And I love this special effect. I don't know what this special effect represents, like a power that this character has or something, or like a laser blast, but it looks really neat. Yeah, I don't know what this is unless we're playing an RPG. But it's cute. Very cool. Artistically, just because this is my wheelhouse, the only thing I would recommend is moving this piece of hair that you've got on the front of the character, because in your 3/4 profile, it's framing that eye, which is good. But in this side profile, it's cutting right into the eye, making it look like she's getting poked in the eye, and that's not very good. I would just move the point of this out over here, maybe have it float slightly in front of the head, so that it's not getting in the way of the line of sight, and then you're going to be fine. Very good. I don't know what you intend to do with this, but it looks really rad. I like it. I want you to make a game out of it because it looks so cool. All right, Matt's up there, and then Victor's also. Did we already look at yours or no? Checkers modified rules. Okay, yeah, he messaged earlier. This is going to be him playing it, and this is the rule set. Let's take a look at the rules real quick. And then we'll go back to Gary. Modifying checkers, game mode blitz. Okay, trying to decide between modifying the speed between modifying to speed up the game or to add a varying way to play. Is giving a sidestep move too much, and how would I do it? So these are like his thoughts. So let's skip down to how do we do it. Checkers board is what we need. If one isn't available, you can draw one. Yeah, checkers pieces. Cool. Pieces move diagonally forward to the other side of the board. So that's normal checkers. A piece can make another jump to capture 2 pieces if available. So here's one thing about game design in particular. You have to learn how to write technically with very high clarity and accuracy, because right now it is very hard for me to parse these sentences and understand what you mean, even though I know already what you mean. You mean checkers, right? So reading your sentences, though, pieces move diagonally forward to the other side of the board. Okay, do the players take turns? Do they move a certain number of spaces diagonally forward? Are there limitations on the way that those pieces can move? You're not really describing it. That is something that is particular to game design, especially traditional game design. You have to describe this stuff so clearly and so succinctly that nobody could possibly mistake what you mean. So that is a skill to practice, and I'll say it's a kind of a punishing thing to do, but it's necessary. A piece can make another jump to capture 2 pieces if available. You didn't ever really mention jumping yet, so it's too early to mention another jump. I know what you mean because I know what checkers is, right? But you're not describing, in order to capture an opponent piece, a checker can jump across a diagonal space if there is an available diagonal space 2 spaces on. You know, that was more accurate what I just said, but it's still nowhere near good enough. You probably need diagrams, right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. So you need a diagram that shows the setup before and after a jump. You need a diagram that shows a setup where you can chain jumps together and make multiple jumps. Otherwise, it's not going to be sufficient. If you have a game of checkers that includes rules, look at those rules. They're amazingly detailed. They explain a lot, and there's often diagrams. Once a piece makes it to the other side of the board, it becomes a king, which lets it move forwards and backwards diagonally. You could just say any direction diagonally at that point. New rules. Okay. After jumping over a captured piece, the piece can then make another move. Okay. That could rapidly end up being a 1 game in a single turn. So be careful, but interesting. After a king is made, it can also move to the side 1 space, maybe needing to capture a piece first. I hope you mean to the side 2 spaces, because the entire game of checkers is played on 1 color of square, and if you moved 1 space, you'd be on the opposite color of square, which would be completely different from checkers. So hopefully you mean 2 spaces, like 1 adjacent colored square. If a king has an enemy trapped against a tile for more than 1 turn, it captures that piece. King must be the one pinning that enemy. Okay, so this essentially says if your piece can't move without being captured, and then you take another turn, you lose that piece. Well, that's fine, except this situation happens all the time in checkers, and you have more than 1 piece available to move in checkers. So what if you're trapping 2? Do you take both of them? Or what if you're only trapping them temporarily and your very next move can get into a place to threaten that same piece? Do you lose that piece still? This one has a lot of edge cases, so I would watch out for that one. When a player is down to their last 2 pieces, they automatically become kings, but do not gain the ability of jumping side to side, if you're going to include that. Okay, maybe. If a double jump is an option, it must be done. That's, I want to say that's a canonical rule of checkers. I don't know if you guys are aware, but you've probably been playing checkers incorrectly for years. If you have a jump that one of your checkers can perform, single, double, doesn't matter, you must take it in the official canonical rules of checkers. It makes the game a lot more strategic because it means you can force the opponent to move in a place that they don't want to in order to open up greater opportunity. Most people play with every jump being optional, in other words. Experimental rule, maybe don't let players move the same piece back to back. That would be hard to track as a board game. You could do it. You could take like a penny and put it on top of the piece that you just moved, and on your next turn you have to move a different one, then transfer the penny over. So I guess that wouldn't be too hard to track. Okay, interesting thoughts. Let's see what the video shows.
I don't really have anyone to actually test it with me because.
Oh no, no family.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't want to
really
make you
look at
guys
one
sit
person,
through 8
and
minutes of this while I'm also
I
recording,
didn't
so I'm
really
going to skip
have
around
anyone
just a little.
to actually test it with me because the moving sideways does kind of. It still does kind of lead to some stalling, as you're just gonna have multiple pieces kind of trying to do the same thing, no jumping sideways, and just actually move again.
So this is cool. It looks like he's figuring stuff out
Either
about
direction.
the rules, how plausible they are.
And let's say there's someone who's just bunkered down right here. You can't just do it right away and be like, that too.
Okay. So
I was
I'll
doing
fully
it.
watch that at some point later on. I don't want to make everybody on stream watch that, but that's good. It seems to be like he's experimenting with his own rules, finding out which ones are more plausible, which ones are less, and that's a perfect thing to do when you're testing something. So very good. Victor, is he gone? Did he have to go? Oh yeah, he had to duck out, huh? Okay. Well, we got it. We saw his stuff, and I'll watch the full play test at a little later time. Gary, do we have yours ready to go?
Yeah. My problem was that I did it wasn't on draft instead of public, so I
Okay.
changed it to public. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's take a look. Do you want to give me any instructions, or should it be?
Okay, so you jump with spacebar. You shoot with the button,
mouse button.
the mouse button, and if you dang it, I forgot about that.
If I fall, I didn't die.
You could fall on different ledges. Not I think this.
Woo!
Oh yeah, if you fall there.
I think I got stuck with my gun on the wall, which is kind of.
Yeah.
I want to do it again. Come on.
I think if you go forward, you'll fall. Like you have to go forward though. And then.
What's going on with that lamp?
So if you there's a trigger, and when the trigger is activated, it turns on the particles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does it turn off though?
Well, when you get out of the trigger button, like it'll.
Oh, you're using that as like a test to see if you can do it, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I get it.
And when you shoot, the thing comes out.
We get some like fire.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm still like getting the hang of it.
Is the bullet a particle too, or is the bullet objects? Because I like.
Oh, it's a projectile. It disappears after 3 seconds, I think.
Looks like sometimes I can get it stuck to that wall. Wow.
Yeah.
Boink. I can wow. Whoa. Check this out.
Yeah, I'll despawn after like 3 seconds, I think.
Okay, so I'll tell you the answer to this one just because I happen to know it offhand. Okay. Instead of making the bullet a physical object, make it a trigger collider.
Okay.
So a trigger collider doesn't actually have a physical presence, but it will track when it's overlapping something. And so when it overlaps an enemy, you hurt it. When it overlaps anything else, nothing happens. And that way, you don't have bullets that can hit each other and bounce off walls and stuff.
Okay.
Whoa, I'm trying to get up there.
You just a space bar to jump. Oh yeah.
Oh, I know. I just suck. Don't worry. I just couldn't make the jump. Oh no.
I think that for my next part, I'm gonna put like health, and because on this one I just put destroy on trigger, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So for the next project, I think I'm gonna do health and work on the UI, I guess. Whoa. Oh, that's like the boss.
The big boy. I'm back. Yeah. Ah! You also may want to move the camera around a little bit so it's easier to see the environment. I don't know if it changes if I full screen or not.
Yeah.
But a few times, like I couldn't see, so I can't see where there is to jump down here. So I don't know if it's far or not. And then I was encountering these guys a little bit quick to where I didn't have a chance to react.
Oh yeah, I think those are like 1 health. I think that the only ones that actually have health are the enemy because I couldn't get it to work. I was trying to do the button UI, like you win, but I couldn't get it to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think you accomplished most of your goals here? I mean, you got particles, you got a playable game level.
Yeah, for most of, I would say so. I think I just got to work on like the button UI and like scene, like loading scenes.
Okay. So UI stuff, usually it's just going to be either text or a graphic. Sometimes it's a button if you need it to interact. They're all pretty standard components though, so you should be able to just look in the Unity documentation for how to apply those. In a more complicated and like elegant sense though, you're probably going to want to look up like a tutorial or someone who's demonstrating that. Are you familiar with Brackeys on YouTube?
Yeah, I've watched him before.
Yeah, I mean, he's got
He's
some really
yeah,
great
yeah.
stuff.
He
At
really like
one
yeah.
point, he did a an inventory thing where he went all through the UI, and it was really good stuff because he was controlling quite complicated inventory management.
Was that the RPG one? I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Right when he did the RPG. Yeah, I was watching it because I was trying to do for my other class how to do like the inventory
Mm-hmm.
management, and yeah,
It was
he
very
showed me how to
complicated, but it was pretty
do it. Yeah.
impressive what he was able to do. Not just the states of individual slots, but like items that could be placed in those slots too. So, yeah. Well, if you want to get a handle on that, you might just make that an entire project of just making a sort of copy of his inventory management system, and don't even worry about the rest of the game. Just make it possible to pick up and drop things to get a handle on UI.
Oh yeah.
Little pure projects like that are just fine. They don't have to build up to anything special.
Okay. I think for my next one's gonna be like an art one because I kind of want to work on the art of this. Yeah.
In what way? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'm gonna make the character actually like look like a character.
Sure.
But I'm gonna change how the enemies look. Like the boss is gonna be different from the minions. There's gonna be like two like types of enemies.
There is on the Unity site again. Actually, one of the tutorial projects when you just make a new one, there's like a fully complete game with animated characters in there. One thing you can do is just pick through it and dissect it. Just take it apart, look at all the components, look at everything that's attached. Go look at the animations because it can give you a lot of great information for how it was built. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll try. I'll do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That should be everybody now. Anybody else got anything they need me to talk about or would like to request? I haven't actually looked in here today. Let's see. Nope, nothing new in our topic requests. Everybody good?
Yep.
All right then. That's going to be it for today. Thank you guys very much. If you have any problems or any questions, be sure to send me a message. You guys have a good weekend. All right?
Thanks, Saber. Have a good one.